Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvati Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Utpatti Prakarana, story of Leela continues. And just to remind you, this is a story within a story. It is a very profound way of explaining the nature of the world and the role of the soul. The world experience that everyone has, that experience is created by your mind. Can you imagine any experience where your mind is not involved? So your mind has bought an iPhone. Or your mind is the iPhone. But in that iPhone, you create a folder for file, or within that you create another file. You collect stories of others and put them together. You create lots of. To put it in a simple way, this is very easy to understand with modern technology. The story starts with there was a big king, Padma, his wife Leela. They lived very happily together, very devoted to each other. So devoted that Leela in secret started worshipping Saraswati to help her husband. Storyline, you see. And Goddess Saraswati gave her the boon that if her husband were to die, he will not leave her apartment. His soul will stay right there. And with passage of time, in a battle, he is mortally injured and he is brought into that apartment where he dies. According to the instruction of Saraswati, the body is to be kept covered with flowers, and the flowers will not fade. And the soul is going to come back to the same body just in a month or so. Sometimes people go to hospital and they get paralyzed, unconscious. They stay unconscious for whole 1 month or more. And they come back. And simply they don't tell the whole story when they come back. But here, Yoga Vasistha opens the story. Following the storyline, Leela remembers that Goddess Saraswati gave the boon that the soul is right there. But she couldn't have any communication. So she invokes Goddess, who tells her that soul is there, but in the corner of the space of that apartment, there opens another world. And Goddess Saraswati guides Leela. And Leela also is guided not with her physical body. Physically, she stays meditating by the dead body. But her subtle body follows Goddess Saraswati. Each story is described in a magnificent way. As she follows to Saraswati, everything is here and now. For her, she has to go through vast distance, beyond the sun, moon, stars, and many things, until she emerges into another world's process. And there is Parvat-gram. And there she realizes, learns that she and her husband both were Vasistha and Arundhati, of Brahmin family. And in that Parvat, that place, that is known as Parvat-gram, a village in the mountainous region. And there, only a few days have passed that they departed. They were Brahman family, and they get, not going into deep story because we have gone through it. But again, just to remind you that as a good Brahmana, he was very devoted to all the duties of life, but he became fascinated by the glory of being a king. So with that fascination, he died. And hardly that, when Leela visits her previous plane, there only a few days have passed. In her plane, many years have passed, 60 more. And she sees the darling son of hers as Vasistha and Arundhati, Jyeshtha Sharma. He is still grieving. Both the Devis look at them and then Leela comes back, Leela and Saraswati, to the world, normal world of theirs. And theirs, Leela wants to know what's the mystery of all that. And Saraswati tells, it opens up another mystery and guides her soul, her subtle body, to the world where presently Padma's soul exists. There she finds Padma is already, he visits that place, that loka, two times. First time she visits, he is a young man who has inherited a great kingdom. Next time she visits, he is already 60, 70 or so, and he is engaged in a terrible battle. In that battle, now his name is Viduratha, and he is also married to a lady who looks exactly like Leela. And more surprisingly, her name is Leela. All seems very strange, but sometimes reality is very simple. You go to sleep, your near and dear ones are nearby, but in your dream they all appear. If they were to walk out of your dream, then they'll be number one, number two. To understand from a more maturer way, oh, that's a shocking experience. Understanding all your experience is a magic show created by your little brain. How little? All the world that you are thinking about. And behind that brain is the mind. Mind is the one that's doing all the magic. Just like behind your iPhones, you have energy operating. That energy is cosmic. It's a radiation from the absolute self. And every mind experiences the world in its according to the way it has been structured, implying according to the way samskaras, impressions are built up in your mind, vasanas, subtle desires are operating. Your mind is not static. It's constantly creating, like a cloud in the sky. It's constantly changing, either becoming more moisture, dense, or becoming thinning out. Even in thinning out, not all over, but only some few areas, creating a big drama. And the sun passing through it creates different types of expressions. Each cloud creates a different story. So each mind creates a different story. In that story, you build up your concept of near and dear ones. And they always look alike. How cute. What's cute to you is not cute for another. So that's it. Now, at this stage of the story, Leela visits Viduratha. And Viduratha has been already in a big battle. And Goddess Saraswati has informed her that in this battle he is going to die because he has worshipped Goddess Saraswati not for worldly goal, for attaining liberation. And his enemy has worshipped Goddess Saraswati for kingdom. So both have been granted by Goddess Saraswati. How loving. Out of her love, the enemy king is going to injure him mortally. He injures Viduratha. And now his injured body, waiting to die, is right in front of Goddess Saraswati, Leela number 1, and Leela number 2. And at this stage, Saraswati Devi is giving her mystic insight into the illusory nature of the world. And we continue with that. The virtuous, Leela Saraswati Devi explains how souls experience after death. And their experiences are not dependent upon their relatives, what they have done and what they have not done. Whether they have offered prayers for them or not, it doesn't depend upon them. This doesn't mean that people should not pray for them. You do prayer for them, thereby you are helping yourself. And if your prayer is reaching out to them, it's in divine plan. If a doctor gives you medicine, you get cured because it is in divine plan. Doctor doesn't cure you. So, all this point is to be understood. While the virtuous, after their death, feel that they are being welcomed by the heavenly gods, the sinners feel that they have been led by Yama, the terrible death. And Yama has passed judgment on them. After experiencing the swoon of death, a departed soul becomes associated with a process of illusory recollections. Your mind never remains calm. It always deals with memories, called smriti. From one point of view, memory is of two types: real recollection and mixed up recollection. From advanced point of view, even real recollection is not the reality. It's based on your mind. The story that you are born in a particular land, and these are the names of your parents, and this was your possession, and that much was your money, and all those stories. They don't really belong to, they are being experienced through your mind like a magic. And therefore, just like when you go to dream, you have no idea what type of dream you are going to experience. But when you begin to experience your dream, you have no contradiction with it. Similarly, memories float in your mind. Just like in dream. Dream also is you are working with your mental memories. In your dream, you have your own reality, what's the reality of the past. In your dream, you suddenly realize you have not paid your debt. Then you bring your purse or whatever and do the needful. So you are working with memory, lots of memory. And all that memory has no reality which I have explained, that in itself is just a relative reality. All that I'm leading you to understand, that if vasanas become purified, you become a Godward movement, and you develop positive impressions, now your memories will be of a totally different nature. If you have adopted the culture where gods are introduced in the form of Ganesha, Shiva, Vishnu, or angels, any one of them will suddenly appear, guide you, and you will have the memory and the kind of understanding that many people who have been sympathetic, at the time of death they have offered their prayers, and their prayers have invited these angels, and they are being led by those angels. In reality, none of them may have offered prayers. You might have been crushed by a coconut on your head. So try to figure that out. So, led by the karmic process, led by the way you have fashioned your mind, after death you experience. Soul becomes associated with the process of illusory recollections and feels, I am dead. My relatives have performed rituals to help me. My friends have offered prayers for me. This is a virtuous soul. On the other hand, a sinful soul feels no one has offered prayers for, even though if he is a big leader or politician, many hundreds of them have fasted for him and offered prayers for him. But he feels I am being driven by the messengers of death to experience the fruits of my sinful karmas. I am being led through thorny forests. I am being driven through icy rocks. A moderately virtuous soul feels that he is being led through green pastures, cool, shadowy trees, and beautiful sights of nature. O Leela, the soul follows the illusory path projected by the vasanas of the mind. Now behold how the soul of Viduratha is intent upon entering the body of Padma. And that's the realistic experience. In Viduratha's world, Leela and two Leelas and King and Goddess Saraswati, they're seeing before them how the king is about to die. But they are all in a different plane. They are seeing the whole thing in a very objective way. They are not involved. The soul of Viduratha is intent upon entering the body of Padma. It feels that it has to travel a long way in order to reach Padma's body. So remember, long way is a relative term. It's corner within corner within corner. Folder within folder. A big file of thousands of words on your computer takes only a dot. Shiva Vasistha continued, describes a general picture of how did Viduratha depart. That's to enable the human mind, aspirant's mind, to be mature, not to become shocked at your heart when someone departs. Try to develop a deep understanding. Someone's soul coming into the world, considered a great joyous occasion. But you must realize how much suffering the soul is going through. But people don't care. How cute. And the time of departure, how much suffering is being dumped out of his head. A soft glide from the terrible turmoil and all people get shocked. Try to adjust your understanding. understand behind all that is God's plan, and God loves the soul. It's God's love that you should count upon, not your love. And your love is a radiation of God's love. Now, therefore, with that understanding, follow this terrible description. Vidurasa's eyes became still. His lips parched, and his whole body rigid. Shavasana. That's why in yoga you practice every day. His breath began to flow heavily through his nostrils, even like the humming of a bee. Some little mucus comes in, and the breeze begins to hum. His senses were withdrawn, just as a bird flies from one tree to reach another. So the spirit of the king left his body and followed the subtle path projected by its karmas. After experiencing a form of swoon, the spirit of Viduratha felt that it was endowed with a body and saw itself being guided by the messengers of death. Simple way to understand. Every day there is a rehearsal of death. You go to sleep, you become dead to the world. But one difference, you wake up to your own body. Death is much more progressive type of development. You enter into death trap, a kind of sleep. But you don't wake up in the same body. You wake up in another body based on your karmas. To the soul, nothing is strange. Babies never say, where was I? What happened to all my relatives? Finally, it reached the divine city of Yama, god of death. There it heard Yama say that this soul has been favored by Goddess Saraswati. In other words, the movement after death is led by your karma or your upasana, whatever type of meditation or good effort you have put in. That decides now where you are going to be. So, Viduratha's soul felt that it has been guided by, it has been taken to Lord Yama, where Lord Yama, the Lord of Death, tells those messengers that this soul has been favored by Goddess Saraswati. And therefore, it will not go to hell. It is going to go back to its own, the body of Padma. Yama commanded his messengers to lead the soul of Viduratha to the world of Padma, so that the soul might enter its previous body. In this astral journey, Leela and Saraswati both followed the soul. The soul was unable to see Leela and the goddess. All this happens with divine plan. See? God's fingers are taking you everywhere, but you don't see the fingers. Having journeyed through vast space, having crossed numerous world systems, they finally reached the world of Padma. Throughout the process, the soul was guided by its own subtle desires, vasanas. Vasistha says to Rama, O Rama, the relatives and friends of the departed soul may or may not have performed prayers and rituals for the upliftment of the soul. But the soul feels as if it has been aided by their prayers, because it's your karma that guides you. What type of dream you are going to have is not based on how many people have blessed you to have a good sleep. You may have received their blessings, and they may be still blessing you. But Dracula has found you more interesting. It is the illusion of the vasanas that creates the sense of reality in the unreal world. Thus, Leela and Goddess Saraswati followed the soul of Viduratha until it reached the inner apartment of the palace where the body of Padma was lying lifeless. And remember, Leela number 2 had already reached there. Leela too was eagerly expecting the king to wake up from sleep. In her mind, it's just a matter of he's too lazy to wake up. By the will of Goddess Saraswati, Leela too saw both goddesses, Saraswati and Leela number 1, as effulgent goddesses. This is the experience of Leela number 2, who was already there with Padma's dead body. She was waiting. And they suddenly see two deities, two angels appear, Saraswati and Leela. And Leela number 2 fell at their feet, saying, O goddess, you have given me the gift of my life. Glory to you both. Then the two Leelas and Goddess Saraswati took their respective seats, because the drama has to start one day. Soon Goddess Saraswati permitted the soul of Viduratha to enter the body of Padma. You have been described how soul departed and what happens. Now how the soul is coming into the body. Just as a breeze enters a bamboo reed, so did the soul enter the body of Padma. Just as a withered lotus begins to bloom at the advent of a gentle shower, so Padma began to revive. The luster of his face returned. His whole body, which had been enveloped in the dreadful mantle of death, began to pulsate with life. Soon he opened his eyes, slowly sat up, without complaining about pain or the cracking of joints. And spoke in a commanding voice. This king, always kings speak with a royal tongue. Is anyone here The two Leelas stood up saying, "Yes, we are here. Your Majesty, our Emperor, please tell us what we should do." The king asks, "Who are you both?" "Who is the divine being seated on the throne?" Leela the first answered, "I am Leela, your wife. I am ever inseparable from you. And this Leela number two is also your queen. She has been projected by me for your delight." The goddess of the throne is the divine Saraswati, the mother of the universe. It is due to our virtuous karmas that she is present before us. Hearing this, the king got up from his bed, the bed of flowers. Falling at the feet of Goddess Saraswati, he said, "Glory to Goddess Saraswati. Saraswati Bharan Saraswati Devi ki jai. You are the giver of auspiciousness and remover of all evils. Please grant me long life, prosperity, and wisdom." Goddess Saraswati placed her hand on the king's head and said, "O son, may your desires be fulfilled. May your subjects be happy and prosperous under your rulership. Success and prosperity are yours." Thus saying, the goddess disappeared. Sri Vasistha continued, "O Rama, Sri Vasistha tells all this as a parable to Rama for giving insight into time, space, workings of the mind, birth, death, and all that go to form the world process. O Rama, all this happened in only 1 month from the point of view of Padma's death. Leela the first had been seated all the while in samadhi. All the movements were done by her subtle body. She had taken her spiritual journey with Goddess Saraswati in her astral body. Listen to what happened to her physical body. In 15 days, the body of Leela became lifeless. It fell down like a piece of wood. The ministers and attendants examined the body and said, "Alas, our queen is dead." The people bewailed over their loss. They cremated her body. But hear the news now. When Leela appeared again in her two forms, had lost one Leela. Now there comes two Leelas. The ministers and attendants of the royal palace, first they were extremely surprised. Yet all this was accepted as normal. The minds simply accepted it. There was no more any question. No more pursuing what had happened, where did they go. No more quiz. That's the Maya, magic. Sometimes in human relations, you see how closely knitted people go after you with tremendous details. And sometimes, very same people has totally a different attitude, as if you don't exist. But they love you. When Leela the first appeared in Padma's world, she didn't look for her physical body. Another point. Physical body is not something a reality. When you go into dream, you do not have the problem. Now, what type of body should I have? You always view yourself with a body. And even while you are with the physical body, shocking news, it is your mental interpretation of mind based upon nervous pulsations. How do the nerves pulsate? And it is that is giving you the idea how you are. And if it is just verified by countless others, they are in the same predicament. All human beings view things according to their way, the way their mind and their nerves are set, according to their eyes. The owls don't have the same eyes. So owls look at their babies as cute. Not human babies, they're useless. Every soul is living in its own world. And everyone's world is as ridiculous. It's the world of Maya. Nothing of this we are going to carry on. So Leela didn't look for her physical body. She had lost all identification with the physical body as a result of her spiritual knowledge. However, driven by fructifying karmas of the past, she manifested a physical body similar to her past form. It was possible for her to do so because she was endowed with satsankalpa, the invincible will arising out of her wisdom. Because by this time, Goddess Saraswati has enlightened her mind. Now listen to what happened when Goddess Saraswati disappeared and the king found himself with two Leelas. King Padma recognized his former queen, Leela the First, and embraced her lovingly with his heart filled with joy. The king also welcomed his other queen, Leela too, with immense joy. Soon the palace resounded with merriment and long sustained pathos turned into a fountain of festivity. Holy hell. The king and his two queens were all enlightened sages. They ruled the kingdom with righteousness. See, enlightened sages, being enlightened doesn't mean that actions will not continue as long as there is body. From practical point of view, the enlightened personality is just like anybody else. But its inner level is a totally different situation. That applies also to everyone. Everyone is not as the person looks like. Photographs don't tell you about who you are. Everyone lives in their world, backed up by the way your mind has been fashioned through a process of karma. They ruled their kingdom with righteousness, and the subjects were happy and prosperous during their reign. They continued to live happily, performing their duties and reflecting upon the teachings of Goddess Saraswati until the end of their lives. When their prarabdha karma, fructifying karma that sustains the physical body, was exhausted, they attained the liberation, disembodied salvation. A sage is ever liberated, but his body continues to appear in this world of relativity. This is known as Jivan Mukti, liberation in life. He performs his duties and seems to experience pleasure and pain, but he is ever detached from the projected world in his consciousness. He sees the world like a passing dream. While living his life in this relative plane, he does not create any new karmas. Therefore, he is not subject to another embodiment. After the termination of prarabdha karma, even the appearance of his body ceases to exist. Thus, O Rama, during the reign of King Padma, his subjects prospered in every way. They followed the path of virtue, and the standard of their culture was indeed lofty and commendable. This story is known as Mandapokhyana, the world within the space of a room. And if we study it, it will remove all the illusions of the mind. In the next section, section 60, Sri Vasistha continued, O Rama, I have told you the sacred story of Leela in order to show the illusoriness of time and space. The world does not exist from the point of view of intuitive wisdom, wisdom at its highest. When the mind is transcended by wisdom, the reality of the world ceases. The world is not real. It is real in relation to your conditioned mind. Having negated the world with the light of knowledge, an enlightened sage becomes one with the absolute self. He sees the world blended with Brahman, even as the clouds that disperse in the blue sky. Implies, how do you see the clouds? Clouds exist to merge in the sky. It's poetic. Don't go into a scientific way. What happens to your dream? Your dream dissolves into your consciousness. In the same way, all the world experience, along with your mind, it's like darkness moves away, all moves away with the light of the self. All the illuminations of the sun create their own drama. But consider the sun. In the sun, all move away. Sun is just absolute light. You should not think that since this world is created by Brahma, it cannot be negated by simple human effort. Now it's just like trying to give you two stages of learning. In early mathematics, parallel lines are those that they never meet. But then you must know how do they meet when you go into advanced mathematics. Now, the early stage of living your life, you view the whole world created by Brahma. And in Brahma, everything has been determined by mathematics. What he has written, you cannot efface it, improve upon it. Vidhi ka vidhan. Brahma's creation, unalterable. So therefore, every karma you have to pay for it. If you hold on to that type of concept, liberation becomes impossible. Because you cannot count how many karmas you have done and how many times you have to fast to destroy. This is not under mathematical precision. But in fact, the created world exists for the intellect that is limited by ignorance. This type of thinking is intellect that is conditioned by ignorance. Because you are planning to attain a goal and you have no understanding. You consider the goal is as a mathematical product. You may start counting the bricks that go to form the goal. But that is not so. Just like you, when you have to wake up from your dream, the project of waking up cannot be understood while you are dreaming. But at the same time, this is an allegorical example. When you are taught, were led by good karmas and begin to develop the benefit of satsanga, and you allow yourself to move into seva, serving others, be good, do good, your purushartha, self-effort, begins to reveal to you that you are responsible for all that you are experiencing. Don't go after Brahma. You are the architect of your destiny. So don't look back with the astrologers. What karmas have I done? What is waiting for me? Work with your self-effort, with that insight that your real self is divine self. Your whole personality is sourced by God Himself. And that godly source does not count the karmas. When the sun rises, it doesn't count the darkness. Simply darkness is dispelled. But if you have not come to that stage, then you are in Brahma's world. Every karma is counted. Something you did wrong 5 years back, and you moved away with a swollen head. But the Brahma's world has recorded it. And it's going to chase you, no matter where you go. So that type of reality grips as long as you have not entered into the path of sadhana. The moment you enter into the path of sadhana, no matter how little you touched by a higher understanding, then you have a different set. All this is there, but you have also developed wings. Self-effort begins to blend with grace. And then things that happen, they are not even imagined by you. Amazing advancement you experience, that your soul is, you are not the body, you are soul. And you are not just a one universal soul, you are a whole. Self-effort blended with grace. And that initial stage is your self-effort. If you start your effort, then grace begins to enter. And with this I will conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.